Nintendo just posted an Ask the Developer for Mario Kart World, where they simply ask the developer information when it comes to the game's development. So we have tons of new information about the game which we never knew before, and also tons of artwork and screenshots and even concept art of the game. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's not waste too much more time. But first, before we get started, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Kart. As the game comes out in almost 2 weeks, it's going to be a lot of Mario Kart World coverage for sure, so you're not going to want to miss any of it. So make sure you turn on post notifications, leave a like, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Kart World. But let's dive in to the Ask the Developer. The first thing we have is the interviewer asks about the courses and their interconnectedness, and he says, could you tell us the development of this game and how it got started? So Yabuki states, we were thinking about what to do with the next Mario Kart game, even during the development of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and we began prototyping in March 2017. Yeah, they actually started working on this game when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out on the Switch, which is crazy. It was at the end of the year when we officially started work on it as a project. I felt that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we were able to perfect the formula that we'd been following in the series up to that point, where players race on individual courses. That's why this time we wanted the gameplay to involve players driving around a large world, and we began creating the world map like this. So this is the concept art of the world map. As you can see, it looks very similar to what we have now, but there's some really dedicated paths you can see doing loops and big turns that go throughout the track. The tracks in the finished version are more subtle and integrated into each region, where you can see originally it looked like it was going to be like these big blue specific tracks that just ran throughout the entirety of the track, not dependent of the region that it's in, but it's pretty similar to the final version, believe it or not. Now, what's very interesting about this is Yabuki states, if the idea had just been to add more courses, then I think we would have called it Mario Kart 9, and I have been telling everyone that Mario Kart Tour is not Mario Kart 9. It's actually like a relief to hear it from Nintendo now so that debate can end. This would have been Mario Kart 9 if it went a different direction than the World moniker. But clearly, yes, Tour is not 9, people. Now you can leave me alone with this. Now, Nintendo does feel like they achieved and done everything that they wanted to with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They talk about The Legend of Zelda and Animal Crossing DLC, and they feel like they've achieved everything. And that's why they had to move to something a lot bigger, like an open world to drive around in, because just adding more tracks would have been more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and they didn't want to keep doing that. Now, Ishikawa does state that they created this game in inspiration from the first game, Super Mario Kart, by stating, we also wanted to create a lively, bustling atmosphere, even in a vast world, and we were talking about how we wanted to recapture that feeling from Super Mario Kart, the first title in the series. During those discussions, someone on the team mentioned the key phrase, playfulness. And here we can see how Nintendo approached the designs. In Mario Kart 8, it was about a sleek, futuristic aerodynamic with edge tuned for the road, carts, and characters. More sharper, rigid edges, more futuristic, more realistic looking, where now in Mario Kart World, it's more playful, cartoony, handcrafted touches, tightly curved frames, and it's based on all-terrain vehicles. So you can definitely see the difference here, where this time Mario is more playful, as he was in the original Super Mario Kart on the SNES. Yabuki discusses how the development of the game was pretty difficult though, and it definitely was not an easy task. We worked on it while kicking the can down the road in terms of deciding what to give up on, so at some point we knew it was going to get messy. But as we decided to release Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass, we thought that would give us a bit more time to continue development. That's when the conversation of moving it to the Nintendo Switch 2 system came up, and this suddenly opened up a branch of possibilities on what we could do. It was truly a ray of hope. And Sato states, Yabuki-san first brought it up around 2020. Back then, we already had an idea of the next system's expected specs, but it wasn't until a bit later that we actually received working development units. Until then, we just had to proceed with development based on provisional estimates. So just like we expected, that Booster Course Pass DLC that came out to Mario Kart 8 was literally just a way for them to give the developers more time to work on Mario Kart World, because it was originally being planned for the Nintendo Switch, but they felt like they couldn't do everything that they wanted to to with the game because of the hardware, and that they were going to have a lot of limitations, but they didn't want to limit anything. So that's why this DLC was born. And it's probably why it didn't look as good for a lot of people. They had to stay pretty cheap by giving us things to do and play as we waited for this next Mario Kart game. So we really can't blame them for that, because they really wanted this game to be on Switch, but that's how underpowerful the Switch was. So yes, Mario Kart World could have happened a lot sooner, but obviously the Switch wasn't capable of running it. Ishikawa then states, "That's right, of course the graphics needed to be more detailed, but like Seto-san, I also felt like it was outweighed by the sense of relief. From the beginning, the developers were saying they wanted to make the art richer, so I thought we could achieve that now. For example, team members who were creating the terrain and the scenery were really happy because they could now place more trees, which were key to giving the world a more natural look." And I feel like almost every developer interview talks about power a lot and how they weren't able to do something, or they wanted to do something but they couldn't. And it almost makes me kind of wish Nintendo would just drop the gimmicks of their consoles and just have a basic home console, something very similar to the PS5, and just focus on power. Because if the devs just wanted to add more trees to the world and they couldn't because of lack of power, that tells you there's a serious problem with Nintendo's consoles. I mean, at this point, I really do wonder what Nintendo could do and their devs could do with a PS5 level of power for Nintendo's consoles. I mean, seriously, if they're always running into roadblocks with power, there's definitely a problem there. And I'm sure in like 3 to 4 years from now, we're going to read another similar article how Nintendo couldn't do what they necessarily wanted to do because they still need a little bit more power. So I don't know if it's the devs being too ambitious or it's just Nintendo's power being way too weak. And I definitely think it's the latter. We also get to hear about music. And Asahi states, "First, we created music for the courses like we've always done before, and then thought about what to do with the roads outside the courses. We decided to have 2 different kinds of music depending on how you're playing. For the Knockout Tour mode, we started off by simply trying to connect the course themes," which is crazy. They're literally taking all the themes of that tour and kind of putting them into one kind of remix, but the approach didn't work well. It ended up sounding weird because the tracks have different tempos and beats, so we decided to find a way to end each of the course themes, even though they're connected by the route. Video game music often plays on a loop, and in this game too, the same music keeps playing if you're driving laps around a course. But for Knockout Tour, as you get closer to the next course, the music transitions to the outro, so the theme ends nicely. We also created a new intro for each course theme, which starts to play shortly before you reach the gate, building excitement, which is pretty cool, each track having its own intro and outro. Then, as you actually pass through the gate, it changes to the theme of the course that you've entered. By repeating this, it feels like a medley is playing along to you live, creating a sense of immersion. She then goes on to state, "For other modes like free roam, we prepared lots of music in addition to course themes and made it so that the game would automatically select the right track depending on the situation. During development, we called this the jukebox. For this, we created lots of arrangements of music composed for past Super Mario and Mario Kart games." She then states that there are over 200 songs for the quote-unquote jukebox. Now, there's no word of there is an actual jukebox where you can choose the music. It seems like it's all chosen for you depending on the circumstances and regions and areas, but then goes on to say these are all brand new arrangements, and we also did live recordings. We prepared pieces from quite a wide variety of musical genres. I believe those who are well versed in video game music, as well as those who aren't, will enjoy listening to them. She goes on to say that the jukebox feature will have you racing toward Bowser's Castle while listening to Bowser's Road from Super Mario 64, or going through a nighttime spin while soaking in the Rainbow Road theme from Super Mario Kart. During the daytime, various bright and cheerful tracks play. In the evening and at night, the arrangements are more chilled. We recorded a band arrangement for the staff credits theme from Mario Kart DS in a style that fits this new game, and I personally was very moved when I listened to it driving around during the game's evening scenes. You can enjoy it even without knowing the original tracks, but I think someone with fond memories of playing various Super Mario games will feel a wave of nostalgia listening to these tunes as they drive around. So apparently music is not random. It goes along with lots of the areas that you're in, the time of day, and the situations that you're in as well. For instance, if you're approaching another track, or if you're near Bowser's castle, like Bowser's Road plays from 64. But here's some concept art of the actual weather, how daytime, evening, and night, and also how it looks when there's rainy weather, which is a really cool look. We then dive back into the gameplay, and Jikumaru states, with such a vast world, we thought it'd be a shame if we were just driving in a straight line the whole time, which were a lot of people's complaints. Then we found a hint from a book that said skateboards create infinite possibilities in a city with just a single piece of wood. Tricks can open up a magnitude of driving possibilities for just a single wall or a dirt track. We thought it would be fun to be able to drive in completely different ways just based on the player's imagination, so we made the gameplay more varied. For tricks like Rail Ride and the Wall Ride, we referenced extreme sports like skateboarding, snowboarding, and BMX. So Nintendo's pretty much stating that yes, there are lots of straightaway drives with the intermissions, but they're definitely not boring. They're claiming there's going to be a lot of wall riding, rail riding and stuff to keep you entertained and to help you to move faster along the track, so just stay tuned and you'll find this stuff along your way. So yeah, they're backing it up that these straightaways and these intermission tracks are not boring, and that's something that they thought of early in development. We're just going to have to wait and find out. Ishikawa then talks about art design and the food in the game and states the designers came up with various ideas, thinking that if the theme was a vast world, they could show things other than racing. There were sketches of characters, scenery, costumes that matched the various landscapes, characters eating. We had a vast interconnected world in mind, so a good deal of the concept art depicted scenes of people's lives there. We designed the costumes and vehicles as a set and created these poster style designs. And I know a lot of this is just art made by Nintendo and not really referencing the actual finished game, but oh my gosh, I love so much of this, and I wish more of this was just integrated into the game. Look at the princesses just all chilling beside each other, and the people sitting down having a picnic beside some of the tracks, and Mario traveling in his little car almost like he's moving stuff all on top of the car, Bowser and his son on this motorcycle in the little sidecar, Mario just relaxing on the beach. I almost wish we could actually hop out the cars in some locations and just do different things. That would be so cool, and that would be a perfect little thing to have in free roam, but still, yeah, I love this concept art and these designs. It's all really, really well done. Then we move on to Yabuki talking about the food and how that was integrated, and states, yes, they were two completely separate elements at first. We discussed the idea of using coins to buy clothes from clothing stores, but that would have meant stopping at stores to shop, which would have disrupted the flow. Given that this is a world where you can keep driving, that's when the idea of food came up. We thought, why don't we have a drive-through system where characters eat while driving, and eating makes them change outfits or transform into a different character, though it's utterly ridiculous. I am kind of torn on this. I get that it just doesn't disrupt the flow by going through, Yoshi areas and grabbing food, grabbing that costume and moving on, but I kind of like the idea of actually giving the coins a purpose, and it seems like once again the coins don't have a purpose. I mean, you're collecting all these coins, it even has an in-game coin counter. I would have liked to spend them, and there's actually lots of areas I've seen from this free roam mode that shows coins just laying around, and I want to collect them, but there's almost like no reason to, unless I'm missing something here. But yeah, I kind of wish they did different things. The food had their own different effect, and that the coins could be used to buy items. I don't mind stopping at stores. There's not that many costumes, I'm sure, in the game. I wouldn't mind stopping and making some purchases every now and then to just kind of relax. Honestly, we do it in every other open world game. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. They should have just had shops, in my opinion. I don't know, that's just me. Let me know how you feel about that. But they do show some art of the food. Now, some of these I think are real. Some of these just stayed concept art. It's hard to tell. But yeah, there's some that we've seen before. There's some new ones like this banana that's kind of like cooked from the inside. We see hot dogs, like beef rolls, tires that are probably like some type of cake delicacy. We can see ramen, even some type of taco. And yes, even a Bowser and Dry Bowser spiked shell soup with a bone in it. Very interesting, and it shows the different levels because it starts off as a Buzzy Beetle, then a Bowser, then a Dry Bowser shell, and every item, I guess every food in the game has 3 different levels, or at least 2 different levels that you can get, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I just wish the food had some other type of effects as well, other than us just getting a costume and a slight speed boost. Now this one also kind of rubbed me in a confused way. Yabuki states not all characters have outfits that change by eating food, but some have a variety that you can pick up while driving around and eating, so we hope that this will be a good incentive for players to try out different characters. This is what's strange to me. if I'm playing one of those, what they call NPC characters in this article, which are, you know, past non-playable characters, which are now playable, like the cow or the cataquack, you can't transform them. A lot of them don't have costumes, which is frustrating because then it's just like, what's the point of getting the food if I'm playing any of like the 20 NPC characters added to this game? What's the point? And that's why I think food is a little bit obsolete, because once you get all those costumes for the main cast of characters, there's not going to be a big reason to pick them up anymore. Speaking of the cow, they talk about how the cow was the first character that they came up with outside of the original cast, where they then had the idea to have tons of what they called NPC characters added, like the Cheep Cheep, Pokies, and even the crabs of the beach. That's all because of the cow. So yeah, blame the cow for people that don't like the enemy characters, but I think they're pretty cool. Jikumaru then states that it was thanks to the introduction of various NPC drivers that the idea to have Kamek appear as an item was born. When Kamek casts a spell, the racers are transformed into playable NPCs, so one by one they might all turn into a cow mid-race. I think it turned out to be a unique item that has never been seen before. In fact, Cow is a character who's inspired a lot of different ideas, including obstacle characters like camel and giraffe. Now, we have seen that there are other animals in this game as obstacles. I'm wondering if we're going to be able to play as a camel or a giraffe too, since we can play as a cow, or are they just talking about, you know, the cow inspired more animals on the track, like the camel and giraffe. But anyways, I like the Mario-themed animals all over the world. I think that's something that should be included into more mainline games like the next 3D Mario as well. Ishikawa then talks about racing on the water and stated, "I wanted to show this shoal floor through the crystal clear water. At first we were worried that we wouldn't be able to show the shoal floor because it was demanding on the processor, but our programmers made improvements here and there and were able to make it happen. Even with the familiar Koopa Troopa beach course, we were able to create the visuals we wanted to show. Thank you for that, Sato-san." So I didn't even notice this. I guess in some areas you can actually see straight through the water to the shoal floor and probably see the shells and the sand on the floor of the actual beach, which is crazy. I haven't seen any gameplay to show this off yet, and most of the areas I've seen has just been blue water, but this is really cool to know. For instance, you can't see anything here because this is obviously super deep water, but it seems like as you get closer to land and towards the beach and sand area, you might be able to see straight through the water and see the shoal floor, which is actually super, super cool. But we go back to the actual water riding, and apparently they wanted to make the crest of the water really, really white so you'll know when you need to jump, so that foam on top of the waves will be very clear and evident so you'll know when you can do a trick, which is awesome. Ishikawa then confirms something that we've been speculating, but for some reason this wasn't in the Mario Kart World Direct, and states, by the way, this game's road sign designs are also available as stickers you can stick onto your vehicle, so be sure to collect your favorites and have fun equipping them for races in free roam mode. Like, why is this just thrown in as, oh yeah, by the way, during a developer article? It's just silly. But yeah, you can actually collect stickers that are based on different advertisements throughout the game and also different signs that you'll see, and you can actually put them on your cart. Now, I'm not sure how many you can choose. Can you choose just one, or is it multiple? It looks like they already have one equipped here, as it says 1UP Fuel with a check mark. So maybe you can put a couple or a bunch. It's hard to say right now. But we also got a couple new screenshots. You can actually click on the link down in the description where I'll link this whole article. You can read everything for yourself and check out all the additional screenshots. I'm not showing them all here, but just a couple that they've shown off, and I have a video for you guys. So they claim that missions won't just be simply driving through rings or collecting coins. There'll be a large variety of different things. For instance, this one says move through the herd of cows. So it'll spawn a bunch of cows and you have to get to the gate in time, which seems like it's actually pretty strict and difficult as well, because the driver here really doesn't make too many, if any, mistakes and still doesn't make it to the ring in time, which I actually love this extremely hard difficulty. And we also get to see an extended version of that Baby Peach blue coin mission where she has to jump in between the different telephone wires in order to keep progressing forward and collecting the blue coins. It seems like you can also jump to grab stars that are being blown by Patuis in order to go faster, or using the star to drive through obstacles like the Patui spiked balls. Also, they pretty much confirmed that the title screen will be easy to hurry up, click your number of players, and jump into a game. Also, you can pretty much just pick up from where your character is racing at that time of you turning the game on. So it seems like it will be different spots every single time, which I actually like. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of this type of title screen, but I love it. But Mario Kart World looks like it's going to be a blast, and honestly, I cannot wait to play this game, and they're just getting me more and more excited for it. It seems like they really poured tons of effort into this game and really made just the best product that they could. Although I'm not 100% on board with everything so far, I'm just going to have to wait and find out how everything's actually going to finish with the final version. But thank you so much for tuning in throughout the whole video. Once again, if you want to read this article for yourself, click on the link in the description down below in order for you to check out all the pictures and everything that they've talked about if you just want to read the whole thing. But thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.